Hello and welcome to Israeli Frenemies, the only news show co-hosted and co-presented by two activists from opposing political views. I'm May Golan, representing the Israeli right.
And I'm Uri Zaki, representing the Israeli left. We may be from the same country, but we don't share the same views. So, get ready to find out why. So, Mai, how was your week?
I was raised with the values of being a true patriot, loving my country and always staying true to it. For me, Zionism is not just a word, but a way of life. Witnessing a young soldier being sentenced to 18 months in jail for defending his country, for eliminating a cowardly terrorist who attacked and wanted to murder Jewish soldiers, was a very painful moment. Our entire country, on all sides of the political spectrum, held his breath while waiting for the decision of the Supreme Court judges. And I feel he was betrayed. I feel betrayed by our beloved country. How could it be that the country that sacrificed our finest sons and daughters on the battlefield but deserted them for defending it? And us? Surely a country must stay true to the brave warriors who defend her, but obviously not. An alert soldier who did his job eliminating a vile terrorist is betrayed and dragged away in handcuffs to jail in front of the tears of his mother, father, and our nation? In any other country in the world, he would be given an award for saving the lives of his people, for eliminating a cold-blooded murderer. Don't Jewish lives matter? Uri, how was your week?
Well, I want to talk about this week in which the first laureates of the Israel Prize, the most prestigious prize the State of Israel honors individuals with, were announced. Out of the 5 laureates, none were Mizrahi Jews or Arabs. The Israeli population is divided between Ashkenazi Jews from European origins and Mizrahi Jews from Middle Eastern origins. Although Mizrahi Jews are close to half of the Jewish population in Israel, a disclaimer, both of us here are Mizrahi, they are underrepresented in all awarding sections of the society, the academia, the financial sector, the judiciary, and more. Similarly, Israeli Arabs constitute about 1/5 of the total population, but are deeply underrepresented in most fields. In the last 16 years, out of 240 Israel Prize laureates, only 17 were Mizrahim, and just 1 was Arab. There are many Mizrahi Jews and Arabs who are leaders in the relevant fields of the Israel Prize. It is about time that Israel will honor and showcase exceptional individuals from all its diverse population. So this week, as we heard from you earlier on the show, Elor Azaria, the soldier who shot point blank and eliminated Stabber, a Palestinian terrorist in Hebron, right? Okay. But shooting him in the head while he was no threat. He was not dead, and this was
dying.
Perhaps, but he executed him. He was sentenced. He was convicted for killing that man, but he was sentenced to only a year and a half in jail. Now, I heard what you said before. I think that, God forbid, that Zionism would be concentrated into defending a soldier. And I'm saying that is a officer in reserve who took a true Zionist. And an officer,
yourself a true Zionist?
Of course I am. Of course I am, but not the kind. If Zionism is about protecting cold-blooded killers, then not.
Cold-blooded. You would defend a terrorist, but not a soldier of Israel.
It's part of the laws of war is to also, once a person is no longer a threat, you cannot come and execute that person.
Bottom line, you would consider the life of a terrorist more than the life of a soldier that went out to attack you, your family, us, this entire nation.
That's demagoguery, because I'm not talking about that. The terrorist, if he would be neutralized while conducting the act of terror, would be shot or something like that.
And the fact
that's a different story.
Okay.
But this person was already lying neutralized
and the fact
on
that he
the floor
was
10 minutes later, and he was shot point blank
Point
in the
blank.
head.
Seriously,
in the
you're
head,
talking like you're in the rain
in the
shooting
head.
a deer.
This is
a terror attack. A
this is a
terrorist
military
that came
court.
to murder soldiers.
A military court in Israel, not I don't know, the UN
Listen.
or something like that. An Israeli military court. That's what it sentenced.
Okay.
I do think that year and a half is not enough. Of course.
Of course you do. Of course. Didn't think differently. Look, luckily for us, the majority of this nation doesn't agree with you and is very, very disappointed, even from this 18
How do you
months
know? Did you
in
poll
jail.
it?
I do know. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, because I live.
I think that many people think that
because we
this
see
is
what part of the political side you represent, and we see what part of the political I represent, and you are the minority.
So you think the right is about
you are the
defending
minority, but
killers,
whatever.
sentence killers?
Please, let's move along with yours. Let's say it's not the majority. Listen to me. We're talking about an 18-year-old soldier, an excellent soldier, a fine soldier that went to the army with the love for his country, wanting to defend her and to protect her, and felt he was threatened by this soldier, felt he still had a bomb on him and might explode. And one second,
A court
one second,
said that this line fell in Israeli military court.
And a second before that, he saw this vile terror attacker trying to murder his best friend
But this
from
line
his
of defense
army group.
fell in an Israeli military court.
Listen to me. The fact that this blew up into this entire balloon and media scandal, it's one thing, and that's a horrible thing. It shouldn't have happened. That's what I will tell you. Because if it would have been closed in closed door of the
God
army,
forbid.
he would be sentenced
God
to a
forbid.
month, maybe inside
This
of
is
the army
not the
and be
IDF
released. In the end of the day,
This is not the IDF I serve in.
In the end of the day, I back up my soldier over any vile, disgusting, pathetic terrorist.
Perhaps,
and the fact that
perhaps
you
in an army
and
that
the
you will
left
invent,
organization are
not in the
defending a
Israeli
terrorist
Defense
over a
Force.
soldier is shameful. You guys should
It
be
is
ashamed
shameful.
of yourself.
Really?
Ashamed of
You
yourself.
should be
This is
ashamed
a young
that you're protecting
soldier.
someone who killed
How can you
someone who was
look?
neutralized.
How can
This
you look?
goes against the core values.
What if it was your son? You wanted him to sit in jail?
I hope my son would never do something like that.
Okay. Yeah, you hope your son would never be in a situation like that. That's what you hope. But not
Many
that he
were
would
in
never
such
do
a
that.
situation.
But he was in a situation like that. Look, you know what? One second. If you look in the eyes of the... Let's put everything aside. You look at the eyes of his mother, who's crying, his father, who's hospitalized, his mother who lost 30 pounds of her weight and are now suffering because they're seeing their son going to jail for protecting his country. You think it's right?
I think all that's going on in Hebron is wrong. I think, in a sense, El-Or Azaria is also a victim of the occupation. I think the fact that we are there controlling a huge civilian population with the force of our arms is wrong. I think El-Or Azaria should have taken a totally different line of defense.
Maybe you want them to...
Hold on.
You want the terror attacks to
should
come
have
closer
taken
to Tel Aviv,
a totally different... Listen to me. You're not listening. You're just saying...
Because
you're just making statements.
You're dishonest.
Listen to me. He should have taken a different line of defense. He should have said, you know, it's not me, it's my commanders who put me here. It's the politicians who put me here. I should not have been here in the first place. That's a different line of defense.
Why would he say that? His country sent him.
But to say, that's right.
He didn't send
and that's
himself.
the problem. That's the problem.
If we agree that the country sent him, why are you sentencing him?
Not all soldiers go and shoot someone who's lying on the ground for 10 minutes. He's not an executioner. He's not a judge. He's not, you know, with all due respect.
So this week there has been a very major controversy about the incident in El-Khiran, where a cop was murdered, Erez Amedi, by what many claims to be a terror attack by an Israeli Arab civilian, but some are saying he wasn't. With us today is Ron Gerlitz, co-executive director of Sikui. Hello, Ron. Thank you for being with us. I don't know where you stand exactly, but I wanted to ask you a question. I've seen a very well orchestrated and very organized attack by the left, activists and organizations on the Homeland Minister Gilad Erdan, who is not a cop, and is not on the field, but is getting the evidence and what the cop represent to him and what they report to him. And what we see on the video shoots are an Israeli Arab civilian not stopping when the cop is telling them, and basically running over a cop and many other cops. What is your reaction to that?
The events in Hiran in the morning when happened, something happened there. I mean, no one knows exactly what happened there, but there was one thing which is very clear. Few hours after what happened in the morning, when both those people were killed, the chief policeman and minister then came out, and without any evidence, they claimed, A, that this was terror attack against the policeman, and second, that Yaqub al-Kiyan taught in a school in which 6 other teachers were arrested by the police.
But what do you mean no evidence? What do you mean?
Associated with ISIS, when the police didn't have till now even a single evidence for those claims.
Ron, what do you mean no evidence? We are seeing, and doesn't matter who, but we are seeing a civilian.
What we're seeing,
One second, we're seeing a civilian in a car who is being told to stop, not once, not twice, and not 3 times, but more, to stop, but is still continuing to put his foot on the gas and run over cops who are standing there.
Okay,
excuse me, let me just finish.
No, but you said you opened with one.
It is a fact that there were people in his school that were teaching the ideology of ISIS.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
It's a fact that there were teachers
hold on.
there.
Let me.
Wait, let him answer my question.
No, with all due respect, I want to contribute too.
Just let him answer my question.
Please go ahead.
About the evidence, you say there were no evidence.
What you say is exactly the price that the Israeli society is paying for this blood label against the Arab citizens. Because we heard in the news that the teachers belong to ISIS, but it's not true.
That teacher.
Come on,
let
him answer.
Not that teacher.
Let the man answer.
Not that teacher.
Let the man answer.
I said other teachers in his school.
The police chief said in Erez in the policeman's funeral that 6 other teachers were belonging to ISIS. Well, it's not true. The police wasn't able to supply even a single evidence. And this has a name. This called incitement. This called blood libel. This is exactly what people in Europe did to the Jews in the history, blaming the Jews for all the bad things in the world. And the result is that people believe. This is the problem. My kids read the newspaper and they believe because the police chief said that they belong to ISIS. But it's not true. And the video that you speak about, different experts saw the video and have different analysis. And what we hear yesterday from inside the Department for the Investigation of Police, that probably it wasn't terror attack.
Well, I want to. No, I just want to have the facts straight here, because Mai here used the word, for instance, that the deceased civilian murdered the policeman, although we know now, and this is not by the left.
Ran over. Don't put words in my mouth. I said ran over.
You said
ran
murder?
over,
and
in the end murdered.
You said murder.
Don't put.
You said murder. Murder
he
is
ended
with
up
an
murdering
intent.
Ahmedi.
He killed him. Apparently, not even that's not even sure. But let me finish.
Please.
Hold on. And not the left. Israeli Channel 20, the Israeli rightist TV channel, came out with breaking news that the investigative department in the police said it wasn't an intent killing, but rather it was a dual shooting.
No one said it's not an intent killing. That is not true.
Exactly what Kalman
Not
Wilkin
true
said.
what you're saying.
The
fact that one reporter said it doesn't mean it's true.
Okay, Ron, I want to ask you, next week you'll see it's true.
Okay.
Ron, I want to ask you, is this like a unique case, or is it part of what you regard as a policy of the Israeli police and its attitude towards Israeli Arabs?
Or maybe an attack on the entire police force?
Unfortunately, we see in the recent year, even more than a year, a wave of incitement against the Arab citizens coming from the government itself. And the extent and the height of the incitement goes higher in the recent months. On December, we saw the Minister of Education and the Prime Minister blaming the Arabs for putting Israel on fire.
And what you're doing right now is not an incitement against the police forces?
We're hosting
what about the police forces?
This man,
One
and
second.
let him talk.
Okay.
Since those blame was put in the media in December, the police again. Some people are doing a good job. They didn't find even a single evidence that Arabs put Israel on fire. And the problem that those claims can
It's
stay
a
with
completely
us
different.
for
That's a
years.
completely different thing. In the end of the day, there is a huge incitement against the police force, who is being forced to make decisions in seconds, split seconds, to save their life. We're talking about a police forces
But
that
the
are
police
risking their
force-
lives to protect
that shoot each
us
other.
every day. Every day.
Yaqub El-Kiyan didn't do anything. It was the
He
police
did-
shoot each
he-
other,
no, he-
and that the police is
shoot
saying
each
that.
other.
The police is saying that
Are
now.
you blind? You can see
That's-
in the
next
maybe you're
week you'll
blind.
see the results
You
of the
can see in
investigation.
the
That's
videos.
what they
you don't
say.
need to be blind to see in the videos that he's putting the foot
Only with
on
your
his
glasses
gas
can you see
and he
something
go,
like
oh my
that.
God, you're seriously blind.
Right? Even Minister Erdogan said
Yes.
yesterday publicly that two citizens were killed in the event.
We
We need to finish.
Ron, thank you so much.
Thank you, yeah.
You're welcome.
So last night, Minister of Justice Ayelet Shaked has decided and announced for 4 new high Supreme Court judges that are entering the Supreme Court. I have to say that I'm very happy about it. I think that a diversity and a bit of change and other voices are very well needed in the Supreme Court. There is some sort of anger in our nation towards the Supreme Court judges, and it comes from a fact that they think that the majority that's been sitting there is not just left, but radical lefties. And I think that this is a huge, important step towards a change, but the way is still very long.
Okay, so I'll surprise you. First of all, I think it's quite okay. I can't say I'm happy like you did, but it makes a lot of sense that during a right-wing government, you'll get 4 judges, out of which 3 are conservatives.
Yeah, but it didn't happen for over 30 years.
It's not true. I mean, you have a settler in this Supreme Court already sitting. You have many.
Oh wow, one.
No, you have
One
more than
in
one.
between.
I have a law degree and I follow the Supreme Court. There's no question that this Supreme Court is much less activist than the Supreme Court, let's say, 10 or 15 years ago. And apparently it's going to be more conservative now. And I think it makes total sense. I think, by the way, it proves that unlike many of your colleagues in the Israeli right who say that we should change the way we elect judges, doesn't work. And I don't think they should say it. Ayelet Shaked proved that by her strong political skills, she was able to create a consensus within the committee that elects those judges. And by the way, the committee has also representatives from the court and from the Israeli bar. And she passed 4 conservative judges, and I think it's totally okay.
Not 4 of them, actually. One is not that conservative. 3. But but I want to just talk with you for a second about a problem that is bigger, because we see the same thing in America right now with Trump, that is trying to pass a law and the Supreme Court is trying to rule it off. I think that, and I know you won't agree with me because it serves your agenda.
No, it serves democracy.
But there is a very big problem when an elected and chosen members of the Knesset are trying to pass a law that represent the public, but is being ruled off time again and again by the Supreme Court judges. I think that this is the opposite. One second. I think that this is the opposite of democracy. And further than that, I think that we are being, and I'm going to say something that is very hard, we are actually being ruled. For me, it's some sort of a dictatorship, Uri, because there is no way that we are living under the rule of the Supreme Court justices. Yeah, but you said before...
Time is running out.
No, but you said something long before about the fact that there are... Okay, you know what?
I only said that it's okay for a conservative minister to nominate conservative judges, and I think you agree with me. But what you said, to totally disagree with.
Of course.
Democracy is based upon the 3 branches of government having checks and balances between each other.
But there is no checks and balances.
The judiciary's role is to see whether legislation is constitutional, both in the United States and in Israel.
I know, the state is different than Israel, though.
Yeah, but this problem, you're right, is similar.
It's a bit different.
In a democracy will only function if all 3 branches
Yeah, but
of
that's
the government
not happening,
will.
Uli. There are no checks and balances
There
here.
are.
No,
These are
there
the checks and
isn't,
balances.
because they are running our
if
lives.
the elected officials will do whatever they want with any given majority.
No, but the result
Or in
is
the
that
United States, just an
Supreme Court-
order signed by a president,
Uli, the
then,
Supreme Court is doing-
democracy is lost. Okay, so unfortunately, we see another week where anti-Semitism is growing in the United States. There was an attack on a Jewish graveyard. We saw for the first time, by the way, the president condemning specifically anti-Semitism, and we saw, and I thought that was a really dignified act to do, Vice President Pence going there and helping to fix those tombstones.
Very nice courtesy of him.
I think so. I do think, as someone who spent 4 years in the United States, it's shocking to me that anti-Semitism is rising. I don't think neither President Trump nor Vice President Pence are to blame. I don't say that at all. But I do think that some of their supporters are anti-Semites. And I think it's about time that the administration would act firmly against these people and detach itself from these people.
Okay. Once again, I feel this is an orchestrated attack on a president, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. You're laughing, but let me tell you why.
I'm only smirking.
You know what?
I'm only smirking.
Okay. Anti-Semitism has always been in the United States and around the world.
It's true.
There's no argument about that. And it's true that we're seeing, since President Trump was elected, we're seeing more, severe things. But, trying to connect it to President Trump, I think, is not just...
I did not do that.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a lot of, we've seen CNN and MSNBC. We see so many, BBC in England, we see so many news, and even the news in Israel. We see a lot of news media channels that are trying to connect it to Trump. And you know what? It's upsetting me because it deflects from the real problem. And the real problem is that anti-Semitism is rising because there is a real problem in the world with the BDS and movements.
The BDS,
and the new Israel
the BDS
Fund
doesn't have anything to do with it. Come on.
Organizations that are going against Israel and boycotting merchandises from Israel.
Which is a totally different issue that we should discuss, but it's not about anti-Semitism.
But I have to
not
say
this kind of anti-Semitism.
And President Trump is the most pro-Israel, loving, pro-Israel, loving Israel country that has ever been president in the United States. And for me, the fact that they are tying it to him is horrible. But I have a theory. You might call it a conspiracy theory, but I know you're going to disapprove. But I feel that the anti-Semites that you say that supported Trump are behind it, because I don't see them
wanting. But it's the left.
No, I don't see them wanting to drop Trump because they wanted him in.
I won't approve it.
But I really think
message is not approved
that it's just like Hillary Clinton did on her campaign, things that were horrible against Trump and against Jews. I think it's leftists that are behind it to try and pin Trump with
crazy allegation.
But that's me.
That's being ostrich and ignoring reality, and that's a problem. Instead of
ignoring reality?
Instead of saying, hold on, some of our camp are anti-Semites, and we should fight it. You blame it again on the left.
Camp.
It's almost anti-Semitism in itself.
They're not in my camp.
To blame someone else.
Excuse me.
So someone else. It's very clear that these people are anti-Semites. Some of them are neo-Nazis.
Yeah,
they're talking about against Jews, and you're blaming the left.
Ask yourself.
That's exactly what the anti-Semites themselves are doing. Like blaming a scapegoat.
I want you to ask yourself a question. Why those anti-Semites who are not a part of my camp, and Donald Trump said they're not a part of his camp?
KKK supported him.
The fact that
Neo-Nazis supported him.
They need to vote to someone. The fact that they supported him and
so
voted
this is
for
the
him
left? KKK is the left? It's a crazy notion.
1 second. You don't know it's the KKK. That's the thing. You didn't see it.
The leader of the KKK
you didn't
endorsed Donald Trump in the last election.
You didn't see them ruining those tubes in the United States.
Oh, so you think it's lefties who want peace and love in the world, who went to a grave Jewish...
I'm positive of it. You know why I'm positive?
You're gonna be sued by someone. I would sue you if I were. I don't know.
By a lefty,
what you're doing now is both That's incitement. Because
Incitement
even
against
when
who?
you know that supporters of Donald
want you
Trump
to ask
are
yourself a
doing
question.
that, you're blaming the left.
You wanna ask
That's
yourself a
exactly what
question?
anti-Semites are doing.
You want to ask yourself a question? Why would the so-called KKK that support Trump...
That's
they
not so
support
cool.
Trump? So, Uri, we had a very heated show this week, and as always. And, I had a very special moment this week when I was invited by the head chief of police to say words in front of the new chief of police that is coming into our neighborhood, South Tel Aviv, and the resident that I've been fighting for all this time. And I was given a pin in honor of my activity with them. So, that was my very nice moment of the week. What was yours?
Although I'm a bit concerned of this moment. I also want to talk about my hometown of Haifa, where a huge tank of ammonia was threatening for years now the residents of the area. And this week, following court decision, the Israeli Ministry of Environment said it's going to shut down this ammonia tank.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous. And also the head of Hezbollah threatened to attack this ammonia tank, which will create the same effect of a nuclear bomb. So I'm really happy that the Ministry of Environment finally did that, and I'm happy for the residents of Haifa.
Long overdue. So thank you, Uri, and thank you,
Mike.
everyone. We'll see you next week on Israeli Frenemies.